All right, are we live? Can you hear me? Anybody around? Hello? All sorts of people here. How's it going? All right, sweet. This is the first ever live stream, so welcome to the party. Where I'm in California at the moment, and we're in the van. This is Gladys. Um, so I've only done one live stream before. I did a live stream on Patreon on Monday, just to like figure out how everything works. So this is practically my first ever live stream. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Seems like there's quite a few of you on here right now. A lot of comments coming in. So let's start with. Do you have any questions pertaining to the channel or to van life? Otherwise, I will go through kind of what the plan is for this next year and kind of what I'm envisioning. Let's see. Check out these comments. What's the noise? What noise are you hearing? Does everything sound okay? Gotta buy echo effect. Let's see if I can fix that. Ba ba ba. Da da da. Property. Da da. Did that fix the noise? Okay, we'll start with these questions. Let's see. How much does it cost to get your van to Europe? I don't know. I'm not taking the van to Europe. I'm probably going to leave Gladys in the desert here in California, Joshua Tree. I'm actually not positive yet what I'm going to do with Gladys for the time being, because I'll probably be away from Gladys for about, I don't know, like a year maybe. I don't know next time I'll be in California. Um, so how much does it cost to get over to Europe? I'm not sure. I know people that ship their vans from Europe to the U.S. It costs like $2,000 to $3,000 to ship it. But I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Florida, and in Florida I will go to sailing school, and in sailing, that'll take like a week where I'll learn how to sail, and then from Florida I'm going to take a a cruise ship from Miami to Barcelona, Spain. So that'll be a repositioning cruise. And what a repositioning cruise is cruise ships, they're running routes all over the world, but they have a home port, and that will be wherever it is in the world. And when a cruise ship needs maintenance done or it needs to be dry docked, it has to go back to its mother port. And so instead of cruising an empty ship across the ocean, because that would be exceptionally expensive, they do a full cruise, just a full out cruise. But there's more time on the water because you're crossing an ocean. But it's way cheaper, and they normally don't fill up. The one that I'm going on seems like it did fill up, so I've heard that they normally don't fill up, but they are getting more popular among people because you can get such a good deal. Um, so that's what I'm planning on doing. I'll be taking a cruise ship from Miami to Barcelona, Spain, and then in Barcelona, the goal is to have a boat ready to move into, and hopefully have crew by that whole time figured out. So not taking Gladys to Europe. All right, next question. Who do I live with? Well, currently I'm in Yucca Valley, which is right next to Joshua Tree, California. And here I occasionally rent out a room out of a house, and with Brandon Croak. He's a friend of mine. I've known him for, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years. Met him in Oregon. He was a van lifer, and we met. And anyway, we've got a house here, and I rent out a room occasionally. And it's nice to be able to like have a home base and then go travel for however long. I did the straight traveling for about a year and a half, and I mean, straight traveling for that long is like pretty taxing, and so it's nice to be able to have a place where I can go, and maybe it's just for a month, maybe it's for 2 months, however long, have a routine and like recoup and then get back out there and travel again. So right now in Yucca Valley, I'm living in a house with Brandon. And then we also have another house on this property, and our friend Christine lives there. So there's three of us here, and people come in and out. Question by I decided to start reading the names with this dude. It's Swapnil Kashik. Sorry. Do you get lonely? Yeah, if I'm traveling by myself, you can get lonely. I mean, I'm a human just like the rest of you, and long periods of isolation, affect the brain. But one of the cool things is that if you embrace that, and it's an interesting thing, being alone so much has driven me back into like a spiritual world, I guess, and connecting with the divine. Because whenever you're alone, it's like, well, I'm alone, but you never really are alone because you're connected to the whole universe because you're part of the universe. So you can like rest in that and appreciate that. And it's interesting. If you embrace that feeling of loneliness, it's like, oh, it's a big wave and it comes over you and you feel sad for a little bit and you just kind of let it hit you and let it do its worst, and then it dissolves eventually, and it's not that bad. It's whenever you like refuse to face it that it gets brutal. But whenever you just sit there, it's like, okay, I'm feeling lonely. Just attack me. Go for it. Give it all that you've got. It's like, whoosh, and then it washes away. So that's how I deal with loneliness whenever it arises, which is occasionally. How do you get rid of your gray water? Well, I don't have a gray water system. The way the water works is it's empty right now. Almost empty. This 5 gallon or 7 gallon I fill up with water, and then I use a water bottle under or whatever under it, and then if that water ends up dirty that I just used, I just throw it outside, and then from the solar shower, it just goes onto the ground. But that's the solar shower is arguable whether it doesn't work like super well, and I've had to fix it like 3 times. I went to pressurize it once. I have a air compressor and I've got a valve stem on it, and so I went to pressurize it with the air compressor, and where I had put in the entry point for adding water into it, I drilled a hole, put this thing in, and silicone around it. I pressurized it, and that whole thing like shot 20 feet in the sky. And it was like, oh, sweet. Now I've got a giant hole in my solar shower that I have to fix. And so I finally fixed that, and then I realized it was leaking in some other spot. So I've had some issues with that. But as far as gray water, where do I get rid of it? I don't deal with gray water per se. Next question. What does it cost to can life? Well, I assume that means van life. But what's the cost of van life? Well, it really depends on how you're wanting to do it. If you um if you're living in a city, it depends on how much you want to travel. It really just depends on how you want to do it. Like I could do it for as cheap as like $1,000 a month or less, or I could do it as expensive as however expensive you want to go. I mean, it's really up to you with how you want to budget, and what all supplies you have. If you've got like a solar setup and a fridge, you can cut down your prices a lot because you can store all sorts of food that you would want, whether it's meats, whether it's whatever. Keep it cold, and I mean, filling up water is super cheap. Propane is super cheap. So if you have free energy, it's really cheap. Let's see. What's my main source of income? This channel. This is where I make my money. The way that worked is people like to ask me about my YouTube journey, so I'll go ahead and give you the little rundown. So I started YouTube around 4.5 years ago is whenever I first started trying out this whole YouTube thing, and I got into YouTube, and I was like, I found out that people were making careers out of it, and I said, hey, I want to do YouTube and have that be my career. So I ended up dropping out of college and pursued it full time and went 2.5 years into debt with like super slow growth on the channel. And then I went through about 5 different channel iterations. Went through like the classics, the challenge videos, the comedy sketches, the vlogs, all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't working very well, and I wasn't seeing growth. And so I came to this crossroads of like, I just made like 250 videos that have all basically lost me money. Where do I go from here? And so I had a nice reckoning period where it was like, well, I obviously have to change something. So I switched to making these short documentaries. And whenever I posted the first one of that, the channel went from receiving 1,000 views a day to 3,000 views a day. And it's like, wow, that's substantial growth. So I just kept doing that and it worked out. And so now this is my full-time job. I think I just saw RJ. Yo, RJ! Elash is on this stream. He's a homie that I used to work with. Back before I started YouTube, I was working in a country club. I was going to become a chef. I was going to culinary school, and when I first started working at that country club, RJ, Elash, was who I got paired up with. We worked the same station, and he taught me all the ropes, and I just saw him comment on the channel. So, what up, brother? Great to see you here. All right, next question. There's a lot of questions here. I want to travel all the earth with a van. Is that possible? Well, I mean, there's oceans that you have to cross. And for earning money, I want to do photography and some small jobs around the globe. How old are you? I mean, you can do it, man. Zachy Kalmson, like if you just work on your craft, work on your photography, really just keep doing it and get good at it. It's going to take you a long time before you're good at it. At least it took me a long time before I was good at it. But if you keep doing it, and in the beginning of starting any sort of freelance job, it's like, it's going to be terrible for the first for the first period. It's like you're not going to get a lot of work, you're not going to make very much money at all, you're probably going to lose some money, but as long as you stick to it and focus on your craft and really hone your skills, you can do it. As far as traveling the whole earth in a van, people do it, people travel. I mean, there's people that have taken their vehicle to all 6 continents. I don't think you can take your vehicle to Antarctica, but I'm not positive about that. And how old am I? I'm 23. I will be 24 in July. You have 40 million views. How many are monetized, you say? The whole channel's monetized. What interview with who sticks out for you the most in that opinions of the person changed your... Okay, so I think the question is, who have you met that really changed your outlook on life? And there's been a lot of them, but the first one that just pops into my head is Travis Skinner. His video, the video on him that I made was, his house is the Leaf Spring. I can't remember the exact title of the video, but talking with him, he's a really philosophical guy, and I've been studying philosophy a lot, and the way he talked about art and the idea of creation really changed my whole perspective on how I went about creating, because what he was saying was like, and I think this is actually included in the third portion of that video, is like, the reason you create is for yourself. You create, and then you look at what you created and you see if that satisfies you or not satisfies you. And if it satisfies you, you keep doing it and you keep creating and you make more and more and more. And if it doesn't, then you just move on and try something else. And so I had never really taken a philosophical approach to my craft, which is filmmaking, before that, but that was a pretty significant one. Let's see. Another question. How come I have a tattoo in Hebrew? I do, and that's because I grew up devout Baptist. I don't know if Any of you knew that? Probably not, but I did. And so when I studied the Bible a lot, I was going to be a pastor, and I wanted to get a tattoo, and I was like, well, I could get it in English, but like that would, I just feel like other languages look cooler than English as far as like actually written. And the Bible was originally written in Hebrew and transcribed in Hebrew. And so I was like, well, then I'll get one in Hebrew. So that's why my tattoo's in Hebrew. Let's see. Another question. Who inspires me? All sorts of people inspire me. It's like the great thing about inspiration is if you just, you can drive inspiration from anything because the divine creativity is around you 100% of the time. Like, just looking at modern society inspires me because I get to drive around the whole country on these roads that I didn't have to build. Like, the infrastructure of the United States of America is amazing. It's incredible. So that itself inspires me because something I've been thinking about a lot recently is that we we really are standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Like, we're born into this world and we didn't have to construct any of it, right? Like, we didn't have to build any of the Walmarts. We didn't have to build any of the whatever. It's like the cities were already made, the public transport is in place, and we just get to reap all the benefits. So, I mean, just looking around, um, as long as you can have the right perspective and have the gratitude and appreciation, almost anything can inspire you. Work out on the road? Question mark. Yeah, I do. Boy, I used to be a power lifter, so I used to be quite a bit more jacked than I am now. But so I'm very much into health and fitness. I like that a lot, and into eating healthy. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the Gladys 2.0 video, I've got a 45-pound weight strapped to the outside of my van. So for my workouts on the road, I literally just take off that 45-pound weight and just throw it as far as I can. And then I go and I pick it up. And then I throw it as far as I can in the other direction. And then I'll just pick it up and bring it over my head and do stuff like that. And that's how I work out. Do that in yoga. And it's like strength building and all that kind of stuff. And that's how I work out on the road. Another question. Da, 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 da. I don't know. Annexopolix. Hey, sorry to repeat myself. I was just wanting to know your opinion on, quote, motivation, quote. I think the question is like, um, what do you do whenever motivation's not there and staying motivated, and is that a real thing? Um, I personally, I derive a lot of motivation from the internet. I listen to a lot of things. I use YouTube in a different way than I think most people do. I pay for YouTube Red, so that's really nice. So whenever I'm using it on my phone, I can close the app and the audio keeps playing. So that means that I can use YouTube as kind of like a podcast system. And so there's all sorts of long form content on YouTube. And so I'll find philosophical lectures or motivational videos like that, and I'll just play those in the background while I'm driving, and that'll motivate you, listening to people that um, give you good tips on like how to be more productive and efficient and things like that. But the main motivation thing that I've learned is if you've got a big enough vision, then the motivation will follow, because that's like where it all comes from. It's like, what impact are you trying to make with whatever it is you're trying to do? What is the big picture? And then keep that in mind, because that motivates you, and then take it step by step. So for me, it's like I noticed that the way that we're currently living in the United States is not sustainable, and it's inevitable to collapse because it's corrupt. And so some, like, what my vision is and what I'm trying to do is provide people with an alternative route, right? So I'm just covering all these different ways that different people are doing it. Like, who's to say which way is right or wrong? I'm just providing you with different ways in which you can do it. And so for me, that's like what keeps me going is this system, in my opinion, I think will eventually collapse, whether it's 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 100 years, who knows? There is corruption in it. So either it gets fixed and it doesn't collapse, or it goes the direction it is and it does collapse. Either way, people need an alternative because they're not happy. And you know they're not happy because suicide rates are going up, not down. And so that to me is like the standard of if a society is working or not, if their suicide rates are going up or going down, if homicide is going up or going down. And suicide rates in the U.S. are currently going up. So it's like people are not happy, so they need an alternative. So that's how I stay motivated. But motivation is always a struggle. And for me, what I've just learned is like, even whenever you're not motivated, you just have to keep doing it. If you've committed to doing something, you just have to keep doing it, even whenever you don't feel motivated. And then the motivation will come later. Like, never wait for the motivation to take action. Always take action first, and the motivation will follow. But if you've got a big enough why, then you'll always be motivated. That's something that I've learned from, like Jocko Willink, I think, was saying about like Marines, right? So whenever they're doing their boot camp and then they're in this really, really tough situation where, the average person would give up and quit, to them, they're like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And if you've got that why, that'll keep pushing you through. Another question. Sarah Oliveria. Does van life get boring? ? Hello from Portugal. What up from California? I mean, it depends on what you mean by boring. As long as you are staying active, then it's not boring. For me, the difficulties with van life are more pertaining to solo van life and like figuring out all the logistics for it. So it's like, okay, where am I going next? What am I doing whenever I get there? Where am I gonna do I need to find a gym while I'm there? Do I need to find a coffee shop that I can work at consistently while I'm there? Do I need to find, like, there's a bunch of logistics that come to it that those can kind of bog you down. So having two people is extremely helpful because you can divvy up that portion. And you can divvy that up while you're driving, which is helpful because, like, for me, the only thing I can do while I'm driving is listen to things and think. I can't write. I gotta drive. But having another person, it's like they can do something productive while you're moving the vehicle. Who are you taking on board? ? From Falcon Row. I assume you're talking about who on crew. So, next week, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. Next week, I'll be posting a video explaining the application process for the crew. And what I want to do is I want to provide the opportunity to take some of you. And basically, that application process will be something along the lines of, submit an email and submit a video explaining to me what you think your skills are, how you could contribute, and how you think you would help. And then I'll go about it from there. So who am I taking aboard? I don't know yet. What is 20 Stories? 20 Stories is LA's mobile bookstore. I made a video on them, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. They're pretty cool. They're just a little startup out of LA, and they've got a van and they sell books out of their van. And so that's what 20 Stories is. Watch the video if you haven't. It's a nice little video. There's an echo issues. Echo. Let's see. I don't know how to fix that. This is my second time live streaming. I'll try to figure that out next time. I think what I need to do is just get a USB mic and use that. Sorry about that. Is it this? No. I don't know. Let's see. Let me see if I shut off my Bluetooth. Did that fix the echo? Is the echo gone? Your voice is echoing. Dragons and dinosaurs. Okay, new question. Want to come to Sweden? Yeah. Debbie Brewing. Oh, video output is low. Let's see. Is the Wi-Fi not connecting? Let's see. How's the stream going? I think it's still going. All right, next question. Do you plan coming to Canada? I was in Canada a couple, I don't know, 6 months ago, and it was nice. I liked it. I was in British Columbia. In the near future, I don't have Canada in my sights, but I'm sure I'll be back there eventually. College major? Nope, I dropped out. What's your view of the Minimal Millennials channel, who pretty much e-begging? I don't know. I haven't seen that channel. Do you want to have a doggy? I've thought about having a dog, but the plan for the near future includes a lot of international travel, and especially on a boat. I don't know if that's really possible with a dog. So I'll eventually have a dog, but not in the foreseeable future. I don't think right now is the right time. How long do you plan to live in a van? About a month and a half longer, really. Actually, yeah, not very much longer, because the plan is to switch to a boat. I assume that going forward in life, I'll probably always own a van if I ever go into a house. I mean, the plan is to eventually one day build my own house, and have some sort of Earthship type of thing, or tiny house or something like that. But I assume I'll probably always have a van for weekend trips and whatnot, because vans, they're so handy. But I do not plan on living my full life in a van. What type of people do you think are not suited to van life? People who are addicted to comfort, I think. I think those types of people aren't necessarily suited for van life, because, I mean, van life is difficult. Living in a van is very difficult, but there's a lot of benefits that you get from it that you just can't have from living in a traditional housing unit. So it's, what I've found with van life is, as long as you're willing to withstand discomfort and have a low threshold for comfort, then you can do it. And what I think in life is, if you embrace discomfort, that's how you move forward in life, because that's how you grow, right? If you want to get bigger muscles, you have to go through the discomfort of working out and pushing those muscles to their limits in order for them to grow. Same thing with you as a human, as a person. If you want to grow as a person, you have to become uncomfortable. You have to go out of your comfort zone. So, for some people, it can act as a growth opportunity. For other people, they just end up miserable. And then other people love it. It's it just depends on the person. I don't know if there's a type of person that necessarily should or shouldn't do it. Do I plan on visiting the Netherlands? I do, eventually. I don't have that all planned out yet. Right now, all my plans are tentative. They're always subject to change, but right now the idea is end up in Barcelona, get on a sailboat, start sailing east. I want to make it all the way over to Greece, check out the Greek islands. I would like to make it all the way over to Israel, and see that place. I mean, that would be amazing to get all the way to Tel Aviv and then start sailing back west. So as for when I'd be able to make it to the Netherlands, not sure yet. But I do plan on visiting it at some point. I've actually been there. I turned 13 in the Netherlands, believe it or not. Another question. How does someone who has a van and a cool story get interviewed by you? I don't know. The way I find people is I just go with my intuition. It's because, I mean, you don't want to film every single person that lives in a van for a lot of reasons, because there's there's two types of people that live in a van, right? There's people that have chosen to live in a van, and there's people that hit a really hard point in their life and now they live in a van. And it's like, those people are, I mean, they're in a hard point in their life. I don't know if that's, so as far as how I pick somebody to film, it's just I go with my intuition. Mainly, I'm looking for like an exceptional story that would really connect with a lot of people, or an exceptional build. Those are kind of the two main things that I'm looking for. What are your tips for filmmaking? Pay attention to light and pay attention to composition and learn how to tell a story. Remove everything from your editing that slows down the video and doesn't keep up good pacing. And always ask yourself, why would anybody watch this? Why would anybody watch this? Because odds are, when you're starting out, at least this is what happened whenever I was starting out, I was making a bunch of stuff that not many people wanted to watch, because like the thing I always go back to is like I started vlogging and whatnot whenever I was like 19, whenever I started traveling in 20, maybe I was 20. But it's like, who wants to watch the life of some 20-year-old kid from Kansas traveling? Like there's nothing to it. Like, nobody knows who I am. I don't have anything like particular about me that stands out. So the question I kept going back to is like, well, why would anybody want to watch this? Why would anybody want to watch this? And for that, it was like, well, nobody would. And so then I switched it and figured out something that people would want to watch. So that's a tip for filmmaking, is always ask yourself, why would somebody want to watch this video? Next question. Do you like the Wi-Fi situation? Greetings from Denmark. Greetings to Denmark from California. Well, currently I'm just boosting Wi-Fi off of this house here. The way that I do Wi-Fi whenever I'm traveling in Mexico is extremely difficult, because my data plan kept like crapping out on me. So I'd have to go to coffee shops, and in coffee shops in Mexico, the Wi-Fi is just super sketchy. It's like, they'll say it'll be there and it'll work for like, sometimes it'll work perfectly, and then other times it'll work for like 10 minutes and then it'll crash, and you're like, what happened? And then other times you'll get to a place and it'll say they have Wi-Fi and you just never can connect to their Wi-Fi. But in the United States is pretty solid Wi-Fi, and if I don't have access to Wi-Fi, I can just hotspot off of my phone because I have unlimited data. So yeah, I like the Wi-Fi situation. How will you vlog the trip or start a vlog channel? ? So, today I'm actually posting a video that is about a kayaking trip that I did. So that'll get posted right after I finish this. I meant to post it this morning, but I was having issues with the YouTube technical stuff and rendering, and so I had to re-render it, upload it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that'll be the beginning of like a new adventure travel series, and it won't be a vlog per se, but the goal is to, on Thursdays, post a video about travel and adventure. And I don't think it'll be every single Thursday, but it'll kind of come out in chunks. So the one that I'm posting today is about a kayaking trip that I did a while back. And then the next little series will be on Baja, California, because I did 5 weeks down there, and that'll probably be like three episodes maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't finished the editing yet. And so then I'll post that, and then we'll see how it goes with the next ones. But on Thursdays will be like more travel content, where it'll be me talking to the camera, essentially. Not essentially talking to the camera. It'll be travel and adventure and a lot of good content, but I'll be in it. What part of Kansas are you from? I was born in Salina country. Shout out, Rita. I'm from Olathe, Kansas originally, which is southern Kansas City. Grew up in the suburbs. Yeah, Olathe, Kansas is where I'm originally from. Have you ever been to Honduras? I am Honduran. Yeah, I've been to Honduras 3 times, actually. Back in high school, I went there for 3 summers in a row. I was working with some missionaries down there. I'd mentioned earlier in this live stream that I grew up devout Baptist, and so I did a lot of, not a lot of missions work, but I've done missions work before. So I did missions work in a village down in Honduras, and stayed in San Pedro Sula for a little while, which is pretty intense. Apparently, San Pedro Sula is like the murder capital of the West, or maybe even the world. I heard they average like 17 murders a day in that city. But so we stayed in that city, and then we're working with a village outside of that city. But I've been up to like Copan Ruinas, and then I've got friends from all sorts of parts of Honduras. Um, hey, thanks, Bex, for the donation. I really appreciate it. Many blessings to you. Next question. Did you play sports? Let's see. Um, Sixth and seventh grade growing up, I played football, and then I was on the special teams, right? So I was on kick return, right, where you receive the ball and then you're running, and I got flattened by this kid at the time. His name's Ty Jones, and he rocked me, and I was like, whoa, I don't know if this sport's for me. Like that, like my head hurt, and it was like, I don't think this is a good thing to be doing. So I stopped playing about a year after that, and then I ran track for a year, and then I was in drumline. In high school, I did drumline, and I did a year of wrestling. But that's all my sports history. I like playing like pickup sports like ultimate frisbee. Big fan of that one. Ah, hola, Big Dylan. Do you speak Portuguese or Spanish? From Sydney Rodriguez. No hablo portugués, pero poquito español. Es posible hablar un poco en español, pero es muy difícil para mí. So, that's my Spanish. Another question. Any plans to pass by San Diego? No. I don't have any current plans to go to San Diego. But if you want to come up here to Yucca Valley, that's where I am. How do you connect with other van lifers and tiny house owners? So, oops. That's an interesting question. One of the things that I found interesting about van lifers in particular, and just nomads, travelers, is they really use Instagram the way I think it was meant to be used, which is to um, show what's happening in your life and then connect with other people. And so I connect with a lot of different van lifers via Instagram. Were your expectations of van life different before you started? Is it harder than you expected? Um, I didn't really have any expectations of van life going into it. So the way it happened for me is I started backpacking South America, and I did 3 months in South America living out of a backpack. And then I flew back to the Northeast and lived in New York for a month, and then went and worked on a fishing boat in Massachusetts in Cape Cod. And I was like out of money, completely broke. And it was like, well, I'm not gonna stop traveling, but how do I keep doing it? Because I'm also like pretty tired of living out of a backpack. So I bought a van and moved into a van because that was just like the reasonable next step for me. So I didn't have any expectations going into it. Is it harder than I expected? I mean, it's difficult, but like if you get a nice build, it's not that bad. It's like what I like about van life is you interact with your own existence more, right? Like I have to go gather my own water. I have to fill up my own propane. I have to fill up gas, keep the van running, all that kind of stuff. There's just more practicalities of like being responsible for my own existence that I really enjoy about van life. Next question. Are you happy? Right now, I am. Happiness is fleeting. So find meaning in life. And you find that through responsibility, I guess. Figure out what it is that you can do. Humans were pack animals. We got to have something on our back, right? Like Atlas carrying the world, carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you'll find meaning in life because you can move forward and make progress and actually contribute to the world in a positive way instead of making it worse, which so many people tend to do, and I've done it for a long time. So my goal is like, don't make the world a worse place. Let's try to make it let's just try not to make it worse first off, and then we can try to make it better after that. But get a big weight on your shoulders and you can find meaning in life, and then if happiness is there, you're happy. But happiness comes and goes, and so you can find inner peace, peace with the universe, and meaning in life, and that's what really matters. Will this video be available on your channel afterwards? Maybe, but I haven't decided that yet. I assume I'll probably leave it up. Do you plan on buying a boat to sail from Barcelona or join as a crew on another boat? I plan to captain a boat and have a crew. And the way I want to do that is I'll have the boat, I'll have the crew, and that crew will serve as a crew for the boat, moving the boat, sailing the boat. But also, my plan is to create a whole team that kind of focuses around this channel and focuses around creating videos and creating beautiful things. So my plan is to create a crew on a boat that also serves as like a production company. And so whoever ends up on the boat, I'll be teaching them things about filming and all that kind of stuff. And we'll kind of divvy up some responsibilities so that we can really try to expand. How old were you when you first took a trip on your own? I'm trying to think of the first time I took a plane flight by myself. It was maybe like 15 or 16. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I was relatively young. And then as far as like traveling by myself, whenever I was 18, I think, I bought a Prius. Yeah. And I started doing solo trips, just road trips by myself. See if I could find people to come along, but like people have schedules and they're not necessarily flexible sometimes. So it was like if I could find somebody to go with me, they'd come with me and it'd be like, sweet. And if not, it'd be like, well, I'm still going to go. So I started traveling solo, I mean, around like 18 or 19 full time, and then full time at 20. You taking applications, Scaman, too? Yes, I will be. And next week I'll be posting a video on that, so stay tuned for that. And that'll explain the whole process and explain everything that's going on about that. I'm giving you guys a sneak peek. What is the next question? I'm only 17 and soon I'll go to the military from Israel. What do you think someone like me could do to eventually do van life? That's a... From that brief information, I have no idea. I don't know what it's like to be Israeli. I don't know what it's like to like have mandatory service in the military, but I would assume after that, one of the things I found out when I was backpacking in South America is like there's a few different countries that you run into a lot whenever you're traveling. It's like you run into a decent amount of US citizens, you run into a decent amount of Canadians and Australians, a lot of Germans, and a lot of Israelis. So it seems like people from Israel, after they're done serving in the military, they like immediately go travel, and they tend to travel in groups. So there's that option, but eventually doing van life, I mean, there's basically like one step to doing van life, and that's like buy a van and then figure out the rest from there. That's the only crucial thing is like have a van, and then you can do van life. And then figuring out money, but that's something you have to figure out on your own. I can't tell you how to make money. Do you have any sailing experience? A little bit so far. That's why I'm going to sailing school in Florida, to make sure I can learn everything that I need to learn. Is Greece on your travel plans with the boat concept, Stella S? Yes, it is. That's the plan. End up in Barcelona, sail east, get all the way over to Greece, and check out the Greek islands, and see what all's over there. I've heard amazing things about Greece. So yes, Greece is on the list. Have you been to Bishop, California? I have not. how does the Max fan run? I like Kristen Clark. I like the Max fan a lot. It works well. I like the Max fan better than Fantastic fans. I do not understand why people are always promoting the Fantastic fan, because the Max fan comes with a rain guard. So you can have it open and working, operating, even if it's raining, which is crucial, because if it's raining and you're in a hot climate, you need to have airflow. Otherwise, it's just going to get steamy inside. But if you've got a Fantastic fan, those open up and they get water inside, and like that's no bueno. So I'm a big proponent of the Max fans. Ever think about starting an off-grid sustainable caravan? The thought has crossed my mind. I have no idea how to do it though. Do 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 do. Another question. Would you take a beginner on the crew? Maybe. Depends on how ambitious you are and what all you think you can contribute to the team. What do you dislike most about van life? That's an interesting question. What do I dislike most about van life? I mean, I think in this van, it's honestly not being able to stand up. That's a total bummer. One of the things I'm like really looking forward to about the boat is being able to stand up in my home. That'll be sweet. And then also being able to like have a place where I could actually do yoga in my home, opposed to having to go outside. Because sometimes it's like I don't want to go outside. I just want to stay in my home and do yoga, but I can't. So yeah, the smallness of it. But you can get bigger vans. Another question. My church does trips to Nicaragua and Bolivia. If anyone is interested in getting out their country. Dylan, have you been to either? I have not been to Nicaragua or Bolivia. I have been to the United States, Canada, Mexico. I've been to Belize. I've been to the Bahamas. I've been to Honduras. I've been to Panama. I've been to Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Peru, and the Netherlands and Norway. I think that's all the countries I've been to. Hey, Dave D Vlogs! Hey, Dylan, have you subscribed? I have not subscribed to Dave D Vlogs, but I will. I'll open you up in a new tab and do that pronto. Have you had any major mechanical issues with Gladys? I've basically rebuilt the whole front end. And so what that includes is like the upper control arms, the coil springs, the tire. I've changed the tire rods so many times. I break tire rods relatively frequently. I changed the tie rods, the control arms, the rotors, the brake pads. I need to change the lower control arms. So I built the whole front end, but I mean, I bought the van for $2,000, and in total build, with all the updates, I put maybe like 7,000 into the build, probably less than that. And then in mechanical fixes, I put, I don't know, maybe $3,000 in, or less. Yeah, so nothing too crazy. You got to think it's like, so all that together, say that's less than 15 grand. Less than 15 grand for full-time travel for almost 2 years. I feel like that's pretty reasonable. Lazy eye travel. What do you don't like about yourself? Damn, what a question. I mean, I procrastinate sometimes. That's always frustrating whenever I do that. I mean, there's all sorts of things that I'm working on. I'm working on staying more organized. I'm working on being a better communicator, working on all sorts of things, working on like staying balanced and dealing with anger. Yeah, all sorts of things that I've got working on. Always things to improve on and ways to grow. What was your biggest struggles and down moments working on your online business? Viking mentality. Um, the biggest struggles were, I mean, it didn't work for like 2.5 years. So that's just brutal on the psyche. And like part of the issue was the channel is titled Dylan McGaster. This human here tends to be called Dylan McGaster. And so whenever I started that, I got to this point where I was confused and I was relating this channel to who I am. And it was like really messing with me because it was like, I would make a video, I would put it out, it wouldn't really get a whole lot of views. And I'm losing money because I'd spend so many hours on it. It'd make me like 20 cents. And so that whole thing was like really brutal. And I was like struggling with my identity, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized like, oh, the channel's not me. Obviously, like this entity here is way different than the channel. The channel is the channel, and this entity is me. Arguably, this entity is me, and so that was difficult. Like whenever you get your identity confused and you start attaching yourself to things, and then you weigh that performance to how you value yourself, and in reality, it's like you are valuable. You're valuable. You are valuable, and that's the truth. And it doesn't matter what else happens in life. You're valuable, and anything else's performance does not change your value as a being. So yeah, don't don't confuse your identity with a YouTube channel. So it's a bad strategy. Let's see. Another question. Do you think a small narrow boat would be suitable for university living? I would assume if you have like rivers and canals to live on, that you could totally do it. I don't see any problem with it. I have no idea what the cost of and what that would look like, but I would think it's totally possible. Narrowboats seem to be like tiny houses on water. They seem to work really well for a lot of people. Any thoughts on mini wood stoves for van dwellers? I've seen a lot of people do it very well and safely. It's just like make sure that you have the proper flashing and whatnot that you need around the stove to make sure that your house doesn't burn down, and like pay attention to it, and just make sure that's set up safe. And if you have a small efficient one, you're probably gonna have to spend a decent amount of money to get like a good small efficient stove. I think Cubic Mini currently makes like the best mini stoves on the market. At least that's what I've been told. I don't have one, but it seems to work out for a lot of people if you just pay attention to what you're doing and don't burn your van down. Does oh my god. Hey, G's from Germany. Hello. Does spirituality play a role in your van life? Spirituality plays a role in my life. So, yes. Should I put a vent in the front or the back? I assume you're talking about of a van. And I assume you're talking about in the front as in probably over the kitchen area, or in the back over the bed. Mine's right in the middle. If I was picking between those two options, I would do the front over the kitchen, because then when you're cooking, you can pull all of the fumes straight out. That's what I would do. But I'm not sure that it necessarily matters. Bro, you seriously need to come to India. I know. But one person can only be one place at a time, and there's a lot of globe. So give me time. Why haven't you purchased a van you can stand up in? Because I have a van that works perfectly fine currently. There's no, I don't know. A van that you can stand up in is expensive. This van is not, I put so much time and effort into this van. I don't know. I just haven't done it. I haven't found one that like struck my fancy. This van has been working fine. I mean, the standing is like the contention point, I guess, but it's not that bad. Like, I just deal with it. I'm not that, like, yeah. It doesn't bother me that much. It's just when people are like, what's the thing you don't like? It's like, probably that. But in reality, I deal with it. It's not a big deal. Did you drive to Belize? No. That was when I was little. We did a whole family cruise, Carnival cruise, and we had to stop in Belize. That's how I've been to Belize. Any weightlifting workout advice? Pay attention to your form, and lift heavy. But lift heavy where you can keep good form. Because if you lift heavy, you're going to build strength. Strength is what matters, not muscle size. Like, unless you're a bodybuilder going for competitions, like going to pose on stage, then worry about, like, hypertrophy and all that kind of stuff. But if you're just doing it for practicality, you want to get stronger. And if you want to get stronger, you want to lift heavy weights. So do that. If you're just working out, learn how to deadlift, learn how to bench press, and learn how to squat properly. Those three, those will get you really far into the fitness life. Those are 3 really good lifts. How long have you been a van dweller? There's an echo all of a sudden, by the way. I'm sorry. I don't know why the echo's happening. I'll try to make sure it doesn't happen next time I do a live stream. I bought the van in June 6th of 2016, and so I lived in and out of it for about 2 months there. I was living with a friend at the time, so it was like in and out, not full-time in it. Then I full-time for, over a year. So somewhere around a year and a half, year and 3/4, something like that. Where did you learn to edit your videos, and what do you use? I learned to edit my videos by editing a lot of videos. I don't know if people know this. I've edited over 300 videos. I've got on the channel, if you were to go through in the old vlogs and count up all the videos that I have on the channel, unlisted, private, all included, it's over 300. So it's just doing it. You just got to keep doing it and get better at it and learn about it. But there's a lot of great resources on YouTube. Film Riot is a really great channel. I learned a lot from Film Riot. There's DSLR Video Shooter. There's Dave Dugdale's a great channel. All those channels will teach you. Philip Bloom, he's an amazing cinematographer. You can learn a lot from that guy. All those things, just paying attention, and then watching how other people edit their videos, paying attention to all that, and then just experimenting it and trying with it, and just keep doing it. The main thing about getting better is practice. And so you got to do volume. That's how I learned how to do it. And I edit on Adobe, so Premiere Pro. Next question. For how long I answered that question? I don't know. How long am I planning on living in a van? Not very much longer. Head to a boat, and then after that, I'll probably have a van my whole life. That question's not in English. I can't read that one. Have you ever had a partner on the road? Yeah, I did Baja, and I traveled Baja with Rael, and that was an interesting experience. That was the first time I've done long-term travel with a partner, and there's a lot of challenges that come in that, but there's also a lot of rewards that come with it too. So it was just really different than what I was used to, but it was a good time. Have you ever considered taking something from each place you visit? As in, a collection. I'm not super into the idea of souvenirs. I've just never been into it. Maybe that's a fault of mine. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I'll be old one day and I'll be like, damn, I wish I had those memories, but I've just never been into it. Do I want to have kids? Not in the near future, but yes, one day I would like to have kids. I plan to have kids someday in my life, but not now. Maybe whenever I'm 35. I think that seems to be a reasonable age to have kids. Definitely not while I'm full-time nomadic. I don't know if that's the way that I would want to do it. I don't know if I could do it like that. Would you ever come to Australia and do van life? I would. I don't know when, but I would do it. It sounds like a fun time. I know people that have done it and they say they've had a grand old time. All right, so we are coming up on an hour. So I'm going to answer a few more questions. Dylan, how safe is it for seniors? I don't know. I'm not a senior, but I would assume it's just as safe as for everybody else. Everybody I've met has never had any issues living in a vehicle. The main issues that you're going to run into are going to be like with law enforcement, and they're going to tell you to move. Other than that, like interpersonally, as long as you're intelligent and keeping paying attention to where you are and keeping common sense, you can stay out of all the bad situations. Would you ever run over kangaroos? No. I would not want to run over kangaroos, man. That's bad karma. All right. Well, this has been a great live stream. I'm glad that you all joined, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, leave a comment. Thanks for everybody that joined. Thanks for all the chat comments, and thank you for the donations and the super chat. Really appreciate that. Go over and check out the Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel over there. I'll be doing live streams more frequently on Patreon than I will be on the channel, and you will also have better contact with me because there's I reply to every comment on Patreon. So go check out the Patreon page and join that, and have a very blessed day. Go outside today and do something that challenges you and makes you a little bit stronger, but also watch the kayaking video that's about to go live on the YouTube channel, and let me know what you think of the new series. So thank you. Have a great day and week. I will see you next time. Goodbye.